Awesome. Well, hello everybody. This is Dr. Natalie Horine with Ignite Chiropractic, but we're actually doing the Ignite live broadcasting, what we're doing so people to watch videos and they can also listen to podcasts. And so I'm just welcoming guests on here that are doing awesome things around the Northwest Arkansas area in the health, wellness, and fitness world, but also diving into spirituality so we can really start to cultivate this collectiveness of the people around here in Northwest Arkansas. And that way we can come together, we can really work to optimize our health, our body, our functions, right? So without further ado, I have Tony Hatch here with me today with Whole Health Insights. And Tony joins us from the CrossFit world, and he has had a deep and moving transformation story, which we will dive into. He has recently found yoga and is passionate to share others shedding over 80 pounds. Wow, I forgot about that when we originally met. Yes. So lost 80 pounds and now is a local health and wellness advocate. He is the owner of Whole Health Insights, where he is passionate about helping people optimize their physical and mental performance through a more personalized approach. Tony is also certified CrossFit Level 1 trainer, 250-hour yoga certified teacher, and a licensed personal trainer. So he has been in the world of personal training everywhere, right? When Tony is not helping others achieve their goals, you can find him enjoying the Northwest Arkansas outdoor life with his family through yoga, camping, hiking, mountain biking, and many more outdoor activities. As we all know, that's why we love Northwest Arkansas. So Tony, welcome.
Thank you. Thank you so much. And I'm sorry, I should have actually updated that. I no longer own Evolve. So we actually sold the restaurant a little while back, and now I'm back to full-time personal training and teaching yoga and coaching some fitness classes.
Perfect.
So yeah, just want to make sure
that in there, but it's awesome. I'm glad to share that because everyone else here in Northwest Arkansas that knows you, that's how I originally met you, myself and Dr. Lee. We walked into Evolve Paleo and we're like, we think we need to know this person here. And so I just remember the conversation from that day, and obviously we have all evolved since then. And so let's get into it there. What are you doing now? Well, you own Whole Health Insights, right? So let's rewind so let's talk about what Whole Health Insights is first, and then we'll unpack how you've kind of evolved into what you're doing now.
Perfect. Whole Health Insights is the business that I started whenever I stepped out of Evolve, and it was originally just going to be my LLC for when I started doing personal training again. But through everything that I've kind of accumulated over the years, we'll get into later, I just wanted to do something different. So I didn't want to just be a personal trainer anymore. And I wanted to actually sit down with clients and help them achieve goals to get to their optimal state. And to me, that just looks like a whole lot more than going to the gym 3 or 4 times a week and working out for an hour. That's me helping them make sure that their nutrition is on point, whatever fits their lifestyle the best, making sure that their bedroom is set up to where they get the best sleep possible, making sure that they're moving not more than just the 3 or 4 times a week that they work out, the non-exercise movement, that they're waking up, stretching, moving around, getting their body moving before they start trying to tackle the day. There's so many pieces to actual health and wellness, and I just wanted to kind of tackle all of it, which is hard because there's a lot of people that will spend their whole lifetime specializing on just one of those pieces. Yeah. So kind of my goal was to have a little bit of knowledge in all of those areas. So sleep, meditation, exercise, nutrition, the whole picture, be able to sit down with a client and actually visit with him. Like, what are you here for? Do you want to lose 80 pounds because you feel like you're overweight? Do you want to perform better at your job because you're a CEO of a company? Do you want to be a better spouse and family member because you're so distracted and with work, and when you get home, you're exhausted and you can't give anything to your family? So I wanted to find out what the root of needing a coach is, and then I have a little bit of knowledge in all of the areas, so I can be like, okay, then you need yoga and meditation, or you just need to go see a chiropractor, or whatever it is. Like, I would send them to where they're lacking, and I can also be their personal trainer and the fitness side. and nutrition coach. And the things that I do have enough knowledge in that I feel comfortable coaching those. So I do those pieces, and then I try to send them to other people that can help with the other things that I know will get them to their goals. So that's kind of the overall encompassing business plan.
Love it. Love it. So obviously you already put in there, and those of us who already know you, like from Evolve Paleo and from CrossFit and everything. So for others that this is their first time meeting you, let's start to unpack with what you were doing within CrossFit into nutrition, and then what led you to where you're at now.
Yeah, cool. So I like to start with how I found CrossFit and my own weight loss transformation. I worked out and I was really active, and I did a lot like as a kid. My dad was really active. We always went mountain biking and played tennis and played sports, and I was really active as a kid. But as soon as I became an adult, I just, like a lot of people, I got lazy and I ate a lot of junk food, and I got really overweight. And I wasted half of my adult life. I was 33 and I realized had almost hit the 300-pound mark. I was like 297 pounds, I think. I came back from
pure muscle at the time, right?
Do what?
I said that wasn't pure muscle at the time, right?
No. That was not working out. That was drinking multiple sodas a day, eating a lot of fast food from a drive-through. I literally just was destroying my body. And I'm the body type that I gain a lot of weight when I live like that. So I had almost got to 300 pounds, and I finally looked at a picture of myself when I was, we just come back from Florida. And so a picture of me on the beach with nothing but swimming trunks on wasn't appealing to me. And I made a decision to stop. And with no knowledge whatsoever, I just stopped drinking soda and I stopped eating fast food. Like, cause everybody knows those are bad. But like, at that point, I thought cooking hamburger helper at home was like cooking real food and it was healthy. So like, I really didn't know hardly anything. But I just stopped eating fast food. I just stopped drinking soda, and I started swimming laps at the fitness center every day on lunch. And I lost 80 pounds in, I think, 8 or 9 months. And I got I lost a lot of weight. I started feeling a lot better. The main thing that shifted, though, whenever I took out the most toxic of all of the bad foods and the soda, my brain started working better, and I started like caring about my future. And it wasn't just about like not being fat. It was also like, oh yeah, I'm not going to be alive when I'm 70 when my kids have kids and things like that. So I started making better decisions, and I started wanting to learn more about health. All of that to take out a couple of years and make this story a little bit shorter. As I started to lose weight, I got more and more into fitness, and I started learning about fitness, and I left my job at Walmart home office because when you start moving and feeling better, like sitting in a cubicle starts to really drain on you.
Oh yeah.
So I left, I think it was May of 2015. I left Walmart after being there for almost 10 years, and I became a personal trainer. Realized at that point, I thought I had learned a lot, and I still learned there is like so much more to the world of fitness and health and wellness. And I could like help bros put on muscle because that's what I was doing. But I couldn't train an 80-year-old woman that wanted to stay out of the nursing home. So I had made the decision to go become a personal trainer. And then I was like, oh crap, I've got to go hire coaches to teach me so I know how to teach other people. So that's where I started. Like, I hired an Olympic weightlifting coach, and I went and started paying other people to teach me what I should have known before I made the decision to be a personal trainer. Because I'm at a personal trainer in a little gym making $20 an hour, going so cheap to try to stay busy, and it just wasn't working. So through hiring one of those coaches, he was training me in a CrossFit gym, and then I just walked in there and I was like, everybody in here looks awesome, and like with their shirts off, and they're walking on their hands, and they're doing like taking barbells overhead, and they're doing things that you don't see in a regular gym. I was like, this is freaking cool. I got to do this. So went way down that rabbit hole. And I did CrossFit for like 3 years, and pretty short into that, once I learned a little bit about it, I went and got my certification and started coaching CrossFit. Um, did that pretty much only that for a couple of years, and then just kind of got stagnant. I got a couple of injuries because I let my ego get the best of me and I wasn't paying attention to things.
Yeah,
Um,
that's what scares me with CrossFit is that because we have a lot of people that were previous athletes that jump into CrossFit that are used to that competitive drive and still want to train, but then you got to keep up with how your body evolves and changes over time.
yeah, and I'm almost 40, and it's just, and and I have a really big competitive side of me, and that CrossFit itself is awesome.
Yes.
CrossFit for me was very detrimental because I didn't listen to my signs and I didn't slow down and I still wanted to lift more than the guy next to me. So CrossFit was really bad for me because I couldn't slow down when I needed to.
Your mind was
Um,
getting in the way.
yeah, exactly. So, and this was way before yoga and spirituality and knowing how to like listen to things. So, um, yeah, I hurt myself. And, but I loved coaching and I love seeing other people that were doing it right get better and feel better. Um, but I got to a point where I was like, yeah, there's more to this. Like there's so much more to just working out 5 times a week. So, it was kind of a couple of things just happened to the universe presented itself to me. I was actually looking for a part-time job to make a little bit extra money because being a CrossFit coach doesn't pay a lot. 25, $30 an hour at best. And you only have classes early morning, lunch, and evening. So you kind of got to fill the time in between. So Evolve, the store, I went to apply to just be like a delivery driver for them. But a friend of mine was managing the store. And she's like, well, I'm about to graduate from physical therapist school and they're going to be needing a manager really soon. So would you consider coaching a little bit less and managing the store? So kind of neat how that happened.
Yeah.
So we talked back and forth for a couple of months and I went and met the owners in Kansas City. We hit it off really well. Super great guys. And they hired me as a manager, like right off the bat. And so managed the store for just a few months, and that went really well.
So is that when we met you then? Was around those couple months at that point?
I don't know if I had bought it yet. I really only managed the store for about 5 months, and then it was just a perfect timing thing. Again, I had managed the store for about 5 or 6 months, and then they made the decision. At that point, they had 6 stores, and they made the decision to franchise. So they owned all of them at that point. And then like they sold one store and they were like, hey, this is cool. We're still making money and somebody else owns it and takes all the risk. So they started franchising and they made me an offer that was crazy awesome for me and I couldn't turn it down. I didn't really know anything about business at that time. So I didn't realize it wasn't the best deal for me,
Right.
But it was not a lot of money out of pocket and I could own a restaurant, which was kind of cool.
Yeah.
So did that again, like only 5 or 6 months after managing the store because it was going good and sales were up and everything was going great. I owned the store for a year and a half. We actually sold it middle of last year.
Gotcha.
So yeah, we met around the time that I was either buying the store, but also through Evolve, I met Scott, the owner of NWA Hot Yoga. He came in, through his teacher training, he does a meditation weekend, which is, I'm sure we'll get into meditation later, but if people that meditate know it's not always easy to meditate. And his meditation weekend is basically, it's like 30 hours of meditation on like a Friday, Saturday, and Sunday, almost meditating all day, not talking, not communicating, no cell phones, no, like nothing. Like you eat and sleep and meditate. And it's, but he came into my store to buy food for his students that were going through that.
Oh, love it.
So,
synchronistic, right?
Yeah. So we met, super cool guy. We hit it off. Scott's a really, really neat guy. And we had talked and I told him that I was still coaching CrossFit at that time. I hadn't made the leap to personal training. And he was like, well, I've got this class that I teach that's like a mixture of CrossFit and yoga. So, and it just sounded really cool to me. Yoga had like pinged in my circle a couple of different times. My best friend, Zach, had made me do some yoga whenever I was hurt one of the times from CrossFit. And it felt really good. And I was like, okay, just like the physical yoga, I was interested in.
Right.
So whenever a yoga studio owner came in and was like, hey, I want you to come teach. And I was like, okay, teaching their free membership. Cool. I'll do it.
Right.
And yeah. And so I started doing that. He put me through his teacher training program, and it's just like cracked my skull open and was like, okay, there's spirituality. That's the everything else that when I'm teaching CrossFit and trying to get people to eat a proper diet. And it's like, I'm really invested in these people, and I'm kicking their butt 5 times a week in the gym, and I know they're eating right, and they still feel like shit every day, and they're not happy. And it's like, what else is there to give people?
There's a disconnect with them.
Yeah, exactly. So, and when I found yoga and I found spirituality and I found meditation, that's when like everything started shifting for me. And then it wasn't right for me to be in Evolve anymore. The store wasn't doing that great. And it just didn't feel right. And I mean, when the universe wants you to do something else, that's going to make you uncomfortable where you're at. So it was getting really uncomfortable. So we got out. Whole Health Insights was born, and everything has felt pretty good since. So I feel really good. I've changed. Instead of trying to train 100 people at the cheapest rate in town, I'm only working with like business owners, and I have like 7 clients, but they pay a premium, and I do everything for them. I help them with their nutrition. I help them with the fitness that they should be doing. We do yoga, we do meditation. Again, we talk about sleep, and that's, I'm finally in a spot where I want to be in how I'm helping people.
Oh, wow. I mean, wow. I mean, I just know like the listeners are like those even that are entrepreneurs and those that just aren't, you have a particular tribe of people, and it's been through your evolution that, we all have our own journey. We call it our health journey, our life's journey. We all have this journey of unraveling that everything was purposeful. It was purposeful that you had to go through a health transformation of like being the person you are today, but like previously being a person that ate like Cheetos and fast food and friggin' sugary beverages, where it's like, oh my gosh, you couldn't even imagine doing that now, right?
Right. It's exactly right. And that's one of my biggest like problems with the health industry as it is right now, is like we have so many people out there that are just like, their bodies like look awesome, so they can eat the Cheetos and they can do this and they can be like Instagram famous, and they haven't like ever actually went through anything.
Yep.
Like they're just selling these silly 12-minute ab programs, and but like people like me that's been through that, like I can actually help coach people through I know what it feels like to have lost the weight and still be addicted to soda and still be addicted to freaking Doritos, and like have those weak moments where you go grab it and you eat it and you're like, oh my God, why did I do that? Like, I know how toxic this stuff is. Why did I put that in my body? So yeah, it's different working with people that have been through it, for sure.
Well, and then you have that, like that has been part of your story, like your journey to be able to relate that to people with what you're doing now in Whole Health Insights, is that you weren't going to have that conversation with somebody whenever you were training them in the CrossFit room. It was like, brah, let's go, right? Like make it happen.
Yeah, it was work out real hard and go drink beer in the parking lot after.
Right. And then it's like, and then there's all these, because it didn't matter about what the calories were. And maybe you did pay attention a little bit to that like later on, but like, I mean, I know coming from like, I have my master's in sports science and everything. And, before knowing what I know now, it's like, it was just all about just getting the calories in. Like you got to get buff, you got to like go through your swole phase, and get all beefed up. And then you start to diet manipulate with water, and then like severely restrict the calories, especially if you're wanting to do competition and stuff like that. Right. Because we want that physique. But like as a female, and I know it affects males too, but as a female, like if you're doing that, first of all, that's not sustainable. Like, especially whenever you like start to severely cut the calories and everything and do all the water restrictions and stuff. But it's gonna, like, we're gonna lose our periods as a female. It's messing with our hormones, like, because your body's in fight flight mode. It's like, I'm just doing this to show off my body for this competition, which is fine because I went through that phase and I needed to do that as a woman to like show that I could manipulate my body the way I wanted to. But then, I mean, as a female, I lost my period for several months, and that's a sign of health for a woman. So like your body doesn't care about like reproducing and digesting, or let alone healing and recovery, if it thinks it's in that state of I'm running from a saber-toothed tiger all the damn time, right? And so I'm sure, like, you know, we come across people like that in our respective fields and everything like that, and we're going to help them where they want to be, but we want to help bridge that gap even more now. Like where you're at, you're like, yeah, I want to help them reach their goals, and I want them to help like reach the physique, but like you've got to do the mindset work, right?
Exactly.
So let's talk about that a little bit more, on how, you know, now, like starting off with yoga with like HIIT training and stuff like that. Like, so yoga for the still physical element of it while still being flexible, but now you like kind of bridge where you started seeing yoga for more of like the spiritual mindset practice of it.
Yeah, I'm still learning a whole lot about that. And like I mentioned earlier, we weren't in the current pandemic, I'd be packing a bag right now, getting ready to go to India. Was going to go to India for a few weeks and do a teacher training. It's one of those things, and you're familiar with it enough, but for the listeners, like when you start doing yoga, even if you go into that room for the sole physical purpose, there's something that happens. And there's even like Scott, the owner of NWA Hot Yoga, he's worked with a neurologist that comes in during teacher training and explains, like in a hot yoga class and power flow especially, there's like 17 different points in the brain that like light up if it's done properly with the proper arc, where it's like you slowly start to loosen up, you slowly start to warm up, you get them to the peak, you work out really hard, you hit the core. That's when you do the core and like the hard stuff and the balance poses, and then you bring them down and we stretch, and then we go right into meditation. And there's a scientifically proven like method to why that doesn't just hit you physically, it also hits you mentally, spiritually. And again, I'm not at the level yet to explain it well enough. I've just felt it. And I feel it every time I go into a yoga studio. And even, you know, when I'm doing yoga with small groups at the house or whatever, that connection that we feel, those certain poses, I just feel like there's a lot of power to that. It's on the surface, it looks like it's a physical thing, but I feel like there's way more underneath the surface in the collective energy that we're all sharing that space. And especially when we drop into meditation together and you have somebody that's really good about guiding you through meditation, I think a lot of spiritual and emotional work can happen along with the physical that's happening in that class.
100%. Yes, I love it. So with Whole Health Insights now, what's your approach that you take? And we talked about this a bit before we started the recording here and everything, but what's your approach that you take to help guide people along? Okay, here's what I think you're saying you want right now. But here's where it's probably going to make most sense for you to start. And then as far as nutrition, as far as workouts, and as far as complete contrary to popular belief of what people think needs to happen.
I mean, it starts with a conversation. I always have a book with everybody, what I call, it's like power hour or whatever. So we're going to sit down in a coffee shop or at the gym on a jump box or whatever. And we're going to sit down and we're just going to have a real long conversation. And I have a couple of bullet points where I'm like, what's your diet like? And everybody always says, oh, I eat pretty good. Okay, what's good? What's good for you? Because, you know, yeah, because cereal bars or whatever that's packaged as healthy food isn't always exactly healthy food. But I deep dive into each segment of whether it's nutrition, what they're doing for exercise now. I've noticed a lot, and it's kind of funny, when in the beginning of my career, it was like the people I was working with when I was charging a very low price, I was like trying to get people to work out. And then I was working with like couch potatoes and people that needed to lose a lot of weight. And now that I'm charging more of a premium and I'm working with people that are like already good at some things and they're just trying to like optimize, like I have way more people that I'm trying to get them to slow down. Like, no, you don't need to burn 3,000 calories a day when you're eating 1,400. Like, you don't need to go in and do hot yoga and CrossFit and, you know, this crazy like CrossFit style yoga class also. Like, you need and ride your, road bike 50 miles a day. Like,
Oh my
so I'm
gosh.
working
Type
with a
A
lot of people that actually
personality.
need to slow down a little bit. So yeah, finding what they're doing, finding what they're really doing now, finding how they feel about where they could get better. Do they just want to lose weight to look better? Do they want to perform better? Do they want to be better with their family, and more, present with their family? I try to get to the root of what they're trying to achieve, and then we sit down and we figure out what a best plan is. And as well as I do, like when it comes to nutrition and stuff, like some of these things is like, let's try this for a month and let's see if it works.
Yeah.
Not all of it. Like if I feel that they're not getting adequate sleep, it's like, go get blackout blinds for your windows, like no light in your room, stop the blue light, 2 hours before bedtime.
Blue
Like there's some,
blocker, right?
yeah, blue light blocking glasses. If you have to watch a movie with your kids before bed, whatever, like I'll give them all of those. Like that's pretty standard. Like that's not really an experiment. That's like, you
You know,
just need to do this.
we know the
Yeah.
signs.
But some of the stuff is like the nutrition and the exercise and things like that. There's some of it that's like, let's try this for a month and let's see how you feel. And it's the ladies that are doing way too much, that don't want to get fat, is really hard to get them to do less. So, but I've had some really cool experiences with that lately. So.
I love it that you, like just what you're just touching on. I'm like smiling with that, with you saying, with bridging that gap of like, you see a lot of clients now that are like doing way too much. Like they're like totally invested. They're like, I'm going to do whatever it takes, even if it doesn't make sense. Or if I have to, like, I only have 30 minutes, I'm going to make sure I get everything in that 30 minutes, which are total type A personalities, very, very much entrepreneurs of us that are like, I want the best, optimize, I want it here and I want it right now. But you're respecting and you're trying to get them to respect the process, and that, well, what phase of your life are you in right now? Like if you're in the phase of, like, for instance, given the example of the woman, and like, are you in the time where are you going to prepare your body to have another kid? Or are you done having kids right now? And then not only that, like you're a mom, like how do you spend your time? Because it matters. Like when we start adding in the variables of the exercises, plural, that they're doing, the amount of time that they're like, what they're doing for work, are they actively working, are they sitting, are they using, like, are they in front of a computer all day long, because that's going to use totally different energy stores and wear them down in a whole nother way. What's their sleep patterns like there's so many variables that are going into that, where I just want to share the grace in that. Whenever you say like we're experimenting, like for the listeners, it's like, no, you have to experiment, because not everyone does the same exact things every single day. And it totally depends on the phase of life that you're in. So like, yeah, you can spend 30 days to figure out, okay, maybe we need to up the fat in this area right now. And even though you're like fat phobia and afraid of fat right now, you actually need to do that because you're a sugar burner right now, and that's not serving you. You know what I mean? Like you're tanking your glucose and all this other stuff. But I just love that you're like, we've got to figure out to optimize, to personalize it for you based on male, female, and what all are the components of your life to be able to weed out those variables and make sense of them.
Yeah. And helping people do the uncomfortable things. I love it. Aubrey Marcus is one of the guys that I follow. And he did a visual, which I just like, it stuck with me. And he used the example of like our body and our mind, like for some reason avoids things that we know is good for us. Like if it's not comfortable, and he used the example like cold shower. Like we all know now that there's like physical things that happen to our body when we get into ice water or just take a 30-second cold shower every morning.
Right.
It does a lot for your adrenaline. It does a lot for your hormones, and it's anti-inflammatory. It does a lot of good stuff. But when you're in the shower and you know it, and you turn that knob to cold, it's like, oh, I don't want to get in. Oh, it's going to suck. It's really going to hurt. And it's like your body is like, no, you don't need to do it. And that internal thoughts or the internal voice are saying, no, you don't really need that. Oh, there's probably something bad about it, or it's probably not effective enough for you to notice a difference. and we have all of these mechanisms. It's like, if it's not what you're already doing and it's uncomfortable, even though we know there's a lot of good benefits from it, I don't think you need to do it. So
Yep.
it's like helping people get through that stuff is also like really huge.
And that's strong mindset work there, because we talked about this beforehand, the ego. Our ego
Mm-hmm.
is there and it serves a purpose to, quote, protect us. But there comes a point in time where it's like, we got to put that aside. Like, that no longer serves us anymore. And then we can get into whole conversations. I'm sure we'll do this in other interviews on, like, emotional traumas and stuff like that. And like our brainwashing that we've all been through. I mean, it's proven until from 0 to 7 years of age, like, you're a sponge absorbing like what your beliefs are and what the reality is in front of you, like what your morals are, religious perspectives or spiritual practices or lack thereof, right? Like what's good, what's right, or what's wrong, what's right? What's good and what's bad. Like all of that is formed until the age of 7. And then it's after the age of 7 that you start to develop this conscious, I can think for myself brain. But a lot of us don't discover that, right? Unless you do the inner work, as I like to say, right? Unless you do the inner work to decide, like, okay, my ego is speaking, you think that is you, but like that is a preconceived notion that has formed probably somewhere where you were like in the single digits of age, right? And we've got to unravel that, and it's uncomfortable. I've heard it called, Bob Proctor is another person that we follow for a long time, and he calls it the terror barrier. Anything that starts to get difficult, right, where you're about to make that next step, that next leap, and whatever it might be, it could be like as far as professional, business, and whatnot, but even with like changes, like you're saying, with lifestyle changes, it's like, it hurts. It's that terror barrier that you're like, it must be telling me that this isn't right for me. This must not be good for me. And it's like, no, it's because the ego is trying to resist you from crossing that barrier, because the ego is like, don't go on the other side. I don't know how to help you if you're over there. I don't know what to do for you, right?
Yep. Exactly. Awesome.
Oh, I love it. So if we were to wrap it up a bit more, who would be your ideal clients, or ideal clients that you attract in now, and that also that you want to continue to serve within Whole Health Insights?
So a lot of what I'm working with, and you kind of touched on it, like type A personalities. All of my clients right now, they're kind of already alphas in some category. They run an extremely successful business from home, or they own a salon in Pinnacle or whatever. Like I work with a lot of people that are have already figured some stuff out,
Right.
and they just need a couple extra pieces. It's not necessary. Like I'm not looking for people. I'm kind of full right now, but my ideal client is
certain people in.
The people that I have had the most luck with is, let me see. So the best way to explain it, I heard an interesting podcast yesterday that was talking about, once you get to a point where you're charging a premium and you're offering a really good service, you get into a category where, especially if you're a coach, then you're in like a really like weird spot, because you're training people that already really respect that they need a coach. So they probably already have one. So now you've got to convince them to fire their coach and hire you as a coach. Right. Because the people that need to be convinced that they need a coach are probably not up to your level yet.
Yeah.
So like it's kind of like where I'm at now. It's like people that already respect the fact that if you go and you hire, if you own a business and you go and you're going to probably hire a social media marketer, and you're going to probably hire all of these different coaches to make sure that your business is performing as optimally as it can for people that specialize in that. So people that already understand that and respect that, it's an easier transition for them to understand, well, I also need one for my mental and physical and emotional performance.
Right.
So, yeah.
Right.
So people that already have a lot of the pieces that just need to help getting it all put together.
Yeah. And that's how you're able to offer that, like clearly a very personalized experience within that, based on what they're looking for, but then where you can come in from that outside perspective to be like, you're saying this, but this is what I'm gathering. And then, of course they have to agree to it, because it's a relationship that you're building there. But that being said, so let me kind of wrap this all up. So from what our listeners are hearing and what I'm hearing, you're able to help within, clearly from the fitness world, from CrossFit to yoga to not only not working out 7 days a week every day, it's like you probably may only need like 3 days a week, right? And we probably can agree on the fact that most people are working out too much, especially given the types of people that you're working with, right? And then you work in nutrition, and that can range from like more Paleolithic or keto. And I hate to use the word diet, but it's just like lifestyle, right? And it based on where they're at in their lifestyle, right? So you're working with nutrition, but then you're also adding in like, let's make sure you're sleeping. Let's make sure we're not overstimulating ourselves, right? And then we're also working on maybe a bit of a mindset practice as well. So that way you can start to tie those elements in and get the whole health, hence the name of your business there, whole health perspective, and then therefore more transformations, right?
Yep.
So where can people find you? Where can people find you?
So my personal Instagram is T1Hatch Fitness. Everything, Facebook, Instagram, and the website is all Whole Health Insights. We really lucked out that those were all not taken. So it's just Whole Health Insights, all one word. That'll find us on all of the platforms.
And it's whole, WHOLE, not like whole in one, but whole.
Right, exactly. Whole, complete health.
Yes. So Whole Health Fitness. And so on website.com, we probably can type in Whole Health Fitness or Whole Health Insights on website, also on Instagram, and then also in Facebook, right? Yep. Perfect. Awesome. Well, this was so fun. I know, Tony, that we're going to want to have some more conversations in some other areas as well. And just really excited to be able to talk to you today, and really excited for the listeners to be able to hear how your evolution has been and to where you're at now, and how you can serve the Northwest Arkansas territory. And then really, I mean, where things are online right now, given our current circumstances, we're going to realize how you can even, help people in other areas. It all starts with communication, right?
Yep, exactly.
Communication. Well, is there anything that you would like to leave before we stop this talk today with the listeners?
That's it. I very much appreciate the opportunity to visit with you.
Absolutely. Well, thank you, Tony. Thank you, all the listeners. And again, this is Tony Hatch, and that's HATCH, Tony Hatch. And this is Dr. Natalie Horine with Ignite Chiropractic, here just wanting to spread the love, spread the good health, wellness vibes to everybody here in the Northwest Arkansas territory and beyond. Thank you again, Tony.